Hi, this is Devlin Miles of SLB in the Trailer podcast, episode 3. And today we have with us some great artists. We are doing Songwriter Night tonight at Putnam's Unplugged in Brooklyn, which is at 419 Myrtle Avenue, cross street Clinton Avenue. So come on down. We're having a show at 8 o'clock every Sunday. So today I have with me from BR and Time Bomb, I have Jibrail Noor and Shanelle Jenkins, and they are a duo to be reckoned with. I think they met when they were in Time Bomb, and they can correct me when we get there. BR and Time Bomb opened for Patti LaBelle, and Jibrail Noor is the drummer for BR and Time Bomb, and for Youngbloods Jazz Quartet. He has been on tour with Comandante Zero. Did I say that right? We'll find out. And which brought him to Chile and Colombia. So those are some fantastic credits. And say hi, Jibrail.
Hi, Jibrail.
Okay. And then we have Shanelle Jenkins, who has been playing the trumpet for 22 years and is currently a member of the Youngbloods Jazz Quartet that plays at 5 Spot in Brooklyn every Saturday night for the next couple of months. And she was a member of the Femme Nameless, as well as she shared the stage with Wycliffe Gordon and Bobby Humphrey. So welcome, Shanelle Jenkins, to the show. So I just wanted to introduce them and get a little bit of insight on what you're doing and what your current projects are. You can talk a little bit about Youngbloods Jazz Quartet, and feel free to give us a little update on what's the current thing for you guys.
Current projects. Well, I'm building a survival bunker, just in case this Armageddon thing happens. I mean, you've got to be, you've got, sorry. I haven't been doing as much, booking and managing like I used to do when I first met Devlin, but I've been playing drums with a couple of different groups and trying to get back into songwriting.
Well, current projects, I mean, we had a very hot night last night at the 5 Spot, to say the least.
Oh, Lord Jesus, there's a fire.
So, I mean, currently it's just been a lot of work trying to just focus more on jazz and improvisation and, create. I mean, Songwriters Night, this is perfect timing, because now we can create and kind of think of new ways to entertain people.
Well, the reason I've invited Jibrail and Shanelle down tonight is because through the years we've worked together as BR and Time Bomb, and we've done different gigs and written together. Jibrail used to live in the neighborhood here near Putnam's, and we wrote often together. And I'm kind of at a position where I'm looking to write again too, so hopefully that we can all start collaborating again. But tonight we're going to hear some tunes that Jibrail and I wrote together, and Shanelle actually sang on the Sweet Little Bloodhound album. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. So just tell me a little bit about each of you, who your influences are, just whether you're playing your instrument or writing.
Well, I think this would be a good time to talk about how long we've known each other. I was 14 when I met you?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So, we went to high school and college and everything together. So, I mean, growing up, Jibrail's definitely from a musical family. So, growing up, you just had all sorts of musical influences, right, Jibrail?
Yeah, absolutely. My father was a trumpet player, had his own band and played in a lot of different big bands, and he taught Shanelle for a while. And my mother was a singer. She played with my father, and she also sang in operas, here in New York and in Connecticut, where my family was born, but don't tell anybody. And so they had just a gigantic record collection, all kinds of genres, from jazz to classical to psychedelic rock from the 60s. So when I started getting into hip hop, because that's what you did in Brooklyn in the 80s, they would pull records from their catalog and say, that's not original, here's where they stole it from. So I've kind of have an appreciation of music from all angles.
Yeah. That's a really great point of where you steal things from. I read a book one time, I think it's called Stealing Like an Artist, and basically taking things from other forms of art or other people that are writers or whatever and sort of turning it into other things. We're always all under influence of other people, I think. So with that being said, who would you like to collaborate with? Anybody. It could be anybody.
Stevie Wonder. I would love to do something with him.
Fantastic. Anybody for you, or anybody?
R. Kelly, Stan Smith, Iceman from the X-Men, and the Powerpuff Girls. They're coming back this year.
Well, we're going to hear some great music from them tonight. Do you have any? Can you tell us a little bit about what songs you might be hearing?
Well, Runaway.
Right. Yeah. So, like Devlin mentioned, a couple of the songs that we wrote together when we lived in the same area, and some of the stuff that Shanelle and I've done together, and some stuff that none of us wrote, but we think is good.
What was the inspiration for Runaway? Do you remember?
Yeah, absolutely. Devlin, I think, texted me one day and said, hey, let's write like an upbeat kind of disco song. And my first thought was, oh, crap, I don't know how to do that. And then I started listening to a lot of Jamiroquai, just trying to get some inspiration. And then the lyrics came from a failed relationship, because that's where the best lyrics come from. And we ended up doing it together a few times. And then Shanelle and I and the rest of the guys in BR and Time Bomb did it together a lot.
And Shanelle, tell us a little bit about when we went to Connecticut and we were doing some recording vocals. Remember about that experience? Anything that you can remember?
Yes. I remember flubbing a lot of the lyrics. But it was great. I mean, just to record in an environment like that with the snow and the house. But I think the best part of that experience was like being able to lend to your project, Devlin, and we've been in contact with each other for so many years, and it's nice when musicians that support each other decide that they're going to pool their forces to work together. Yeah, it's kind of creepy. but it actually worked out, especially one of the songs we're doing tonight, War, from Sweet Little Bloodhound, is a great one, as well as Superhero Females.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And now we'll skip off to Carolann. Solebello is coming up next. So thank you guys, and we look forward to hearing what's happening tonight. Thanks for waiting. We are back here with Carolann Solebello, and she is most familiar to folk audiences as a founding member and celebrating member of Red Molly, the trio. And she recently released her album Steel and Salt that you're touring around in the Northeast area as well, and I think she'll clarify where else she's touring. She's been at it for many years and has official showcase artists at both the FAI and the NERFA conferences, as well as performed at Falcon Ridge a couple of times. If I'm mistaken, please correct me on any of the details. But I would like to welcome Carolann Solebello.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's nice to be home in Brooklyn.
Yeah, we're here at Putnam's Unplugged, and we're downstairs in the swanky little lounge. What do you think of this place?
It's part swank and part dungeon. It's really it's very cool.
So tell us a little bit about what you're up to right now.
Well, right now I play a lot solo, all by myself with my guitar, touring around in church basements and yoga studios, which is where I was last night, and anywhere anybody will have me to play the songs that I write for people. I'm on the folk circuit, I guess. I also have a collaborative project now that I'm really happy about, 4 of us playing together, called No Fuss and Feathers Roadshow. And I get to play bass in that project, and I get to sing harmony, and that's a totally fun deal.
Who else is on that project with you?
It's my friend Karen Oliver, a relatively new New Yorker, fantastic singer-songwriter, and a married duo called the Yayas, Catherine Miles and Jay Mafali.
Oh,
so it's
fantastic.
4 of us. Yeah.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. What's one of your favorite venues to play in New York?
In New York? Let's see. Used to be the Living Room in Manhattan. They've moved. I haven't played over there yet.
Where did they move to?
They moved. I was over there like last week. They're in Williamsburg, right on Metropolitan Avenue. It's a bigger space. Mm-hmm. Sound is still excellent. So, but it was really cold in there. That was my only complaint. But the Living Room was definitely my favorite place to play in New York.
Yeah, it was definitely great space. Who have you collaborated with in terms of writing?
Very little.
Okay.
Very little. I'm like the lone wolf. I recently collaborated with my bandmate in the new project, Catherine Miles, to write a song of murder and mayhem, and that was fun.
And when you approach a song like that, did you come up with the concept first and then like Murder and Mayhem, or somebody had the idea? How'd that work out?
Yeah, Catherine called me up and kind of coerced me because she knows I don't really write together with people very well, but we have a similar background. She has a background in English literature and writing, which is kind of my background as well. And I have this idea, these 3 sisters, and they're all in love with the same guy, and he totally screws all 3 of them over. But I want it to sound like an old ballad, like you would write it. I was like, okay. And then we got together like 10 times, and we finally came out with a song.
Fantastic.
Worked out well. Drank a lot of wine, ate a lot of soup. It was great.
Do you have, obviously collaborating is not your forte, I will say. But
Not in writing, but I'll play with anybody.
right. If you could collaborate or just play with anybody, no matter where they are, alive or dead, or celebrity or non-celebrity, is there anybody that you have on your list?
Oh man, wow! I'd like to play upright bass for Patsy Cline, but that ain't gonna happen. But I have this fantasy in my head that I could be one of Roseanne Cash's backup singers. Somebody tell her.
You know what? I just recently listened to her album for the Grammy voting, and wow, fantastic!
Yeah.
Really fantastic album. And it's just interesting when you listen to the whole albums and you're kind of taking it all in as opposed to just one song, like a lot of the singles would be on the top 5 awards.
Yeah.
It's incredible, and it's a great piece of art, I guess you would say.
I'm old-fashioned like that too.
Yeah.
I like to create whole albums, and I don't think a lot of people are doing that anymore. It's
No,
like,
I agree with you, and I took great pride in doing the 15-song album that we did with Sweet Little Bloodhound. And there are certain songs that are taken off, and there are certain songs that are more part of the compilation, and they kind of tell the whole story. So I definitely get what you're talking about there. How do you? And you had this fabulous project where you wrote a song. Was it a song a week?
Yeah, for a whole year.
And how did you push through like a writer's block situation? Because you're the person to talk to, because you're writing consistently, and how do you do that?
I was kind of already in that mode. I belonged to another group called the Songwriters Exchange, which was started by a songwriter named Jack Hardy here in the city more than 30 years ago. Jack, unfortunately, has passed away, but the meeting still happens every Monday night. We get together, and the whole idea is the more you write, the better you get. No matter what, you write something, and you bring it to the group every single week, and you share it with other writers, and they give you honest feedback on it. And so I was kind of already in that mode when Real Women, Real Songs started, which is the project you refer to, started by Carrie Cooper, a songwriter from Texas. I kind of made it like an assignment. I had to turn in the video every Wednesday night because she would put it up on Thursday. So I would write on like Sunday and Monday, or most of the time I would just write on Monday, scramble it together, go to the songwriters meeting, run it past everybody up the flagpole, and then like hammer it into some kind of form before Wednesday. So it kind of it takes away a fear in a certain sense, because like whatever you got, you put out there, and it's kind of erased that part of me that is afraid to show something new. I'll probably play something new tonight that I just wrote the other day because but like it's not a discipline, but like just sitting down and writing, whatever it is, just write, and see what happens.
That's really great advice. So we're going to sign off. We're going to hear some stuff from you tonight. You mentioned we might hear a new song, as well as, is there anything else you want to give us a sneak peek of what's coming tonight?
That's a good question. Is because I play alone, I don't have to make a set list.
Okay, well, there you go. It's going to be a surprise performance by Carolann Solebello upstairs, and we'll have some clips later for you. So we're going to take a little break and come back with Ganessa James. All right, welcome back to the SLB in the Trailer podcast. We have with us Ganessa James here at Putnam's Unplugged, and I have a little brief introduction for you. She is a touring member, solo artist of the country. You can tell us a little bit about that. And she has toured the country with her sister in the band called Onlyist. And she's met really cool people in her journey, Saul Williams, and enjoyed some really cool stages in New York with the Onlyist and Shelley Nicole's Black Bush, which I think she'll be here later. She's either coming tonight to just enjoy the show, and she'll be playing later on, probably in March, so that's kind of exciting. Darren Maxwell, Paul Josephs, Toshi Regan you just played with, correct? Which is going to be an awesome story to hear about. And you just recently recorded with Nona Hendrix?
With Shelley, who is collaborating with Nona Hendrix on her record.
Okay, so there you have it. That's Ganessa James. You played at Mitch Fest and all these fabulous places. So I want you to fill us in a little bit too. So I'm probably tripping on my own tongue here, but I just want to get a little bit more insight onto what your current projects are, and tell us a little bit about the Toshi Regan. You just did that on Friday, right?
Yeah, on Wednesday night and Thursday night, I played bass for her in her big, lovely crew. Every year she does a set of birthday concerts at Joe's Pub, and I think it was like four years ago she gathered an all-female catalog of musicians to play one of these shows that she had cooked up, and then she was like, you know what, this is fun, we got to do this all the time. So in addition to her regular lineup, which are these really awesome cats, these really great guys. She said, we're going to take some of these shows and we're going to make it the all women all the time band. So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
She's an outrageous performer.
She's
I haven't seen
incredible.
her for a few years, but I just remember when I was, the energy that just comes out of her is like amazing.
Yeah, and
So-
I'm super inspired from these shows. I think one of the things that I love most about her, and I think this has kind of been like the arc of the journey that I've taken, since I started songwriting and kind of playing in other people's bands, is kind of understanding where your songwriting comes from and what's the most true and authentic thing that you can say and share. She's so political, and she's so, everything is tied into like what she believes is most true, what she believes is most just, and even her love songs have some element of that to it. So I really, I feel totally inspired.
Yeah, that's really a fantastic way of writing, and I think we all have our different styles, and I love to hear what other people get their inspiration from in order to challenge myself out of my own style. I would say that one of the reasons when I wrote with Jibrail, we were able to knock myself out of like strumming patterns or something, because now we're working in a drumming situation, and he would come up with this cool beat, and I was like, well, how do I play to that?
Right.
And so that brought about really awesome inspiration. So in that capacity, who have you collaborated with in writing that you had a good story about?
Well, I pretty much write by myself, except in the remarkably few cases that I've written a song with my twin sister. We actually have very few songs that we've co-written. We'll add spice to each other's music. But I will say, I agree with you. When I first started the singer-songwriter thing, it was just acoustic guitar, and it was all these ideas in my head. And I really began to explore and understand the tunes better when I started working with Jibrail and my friend Jeff Judy on drums. So we started playing the songs as a trio, and I started to understand them in this whole different way. So it felt like it really expanded my songwriting.
Like taking it from the acoustic to a sort of more band sort of thing.
And even kind of going back and forth between those made me see the songs differently, made me think about arrangement in a different way.
Yeah, that's really important. I know it's when I write sometimes, a lot of times, I'm already hearing the full band. Like, oh, I know that the drums will do this on this part or whatever. And so sometimes, and acoustically, it never lives up to what I want it to be if I play it solo. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
I don't know.
It does.
What artists do you feel your music is influenced by?
Oh, wow. I've always loved James Taylor. I love, since I was a kid, Stevie Wonder, Joni Mitchell, and more contemporary artists like Michelle Ndegeocello, and I love D'Angelo. I love D'Angelo.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So soul singers, folk singers, and international music, because my family comes from the Caribbean and Central America. So all of these things are influencing my songwriting.
Who would you like to collaborate with that you, maybe some of the ones you just mentioned, or like who would be a dream collaboration for you?
D'Angelo. That would make my dreams come true. I can hang everything up. I'd be like, yeah, I was on stage with D'Angelo.
Okay, well, you never know. Things happen. There's lots of movement in the universe to make that happen. How do you get over writer's block?
I watch movies, and I watch TV, and I listen to other people's music. So like whatever it is that kind of feels like it sparks an emotional response in me, or I feel like I can identify with the emotional response that characters are having, will often help me get into a space where I feel inspired to write.
Do you write for TV? Like,
No,
like if you see a cool story on TV, like I'd love to write something with that story.
I would love to, but I have not yet done
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But like when you say you watch TV, would you draw something from that? And
I think it's more that I just start to feel a feeling that makes me feel like I could write something, or I could start to come up with something. Yeah.
And you're playing tonight, so what can we expect to hear from you tonight upstairs?
Well, today I brought my acoustic guitar, so it's going to be some, the kind of, I guess, the firmly in the singer-songwriter territory. I write a lot of love songs, so there's going to be quite a bit of that.
Okay, fantastic. Little love from Ganessa James upstairs at Putnam's Unplugged, and we'll be coming back to you live.
Thanks a lot, Devlin.
So we're back. We have a few extra minutes, so we have all the songwriters for the night here. Ganessa James, Carolann Solebello, Shanelle Jenkins, and Jibrail Noor from BR and Time Bomb. And I just have a couple more questions we're going to ask them and see what they come up with. But this is more of an in-depth question. We're going to see where you come from that one. as an artist, a lot of times you choose to be an artist and not knowingly, maybe you're selected as an artist, but there's a purpose. Like you feel like there's a general something that's pushing you or propelling you. Do either of you have a sense of what your purpose is here as an artist?
Definitely. Music's a pervasive force. So definitely I feel like my purpose with music is to help to inspire people. I know that sounds cliched, but your experience is someone else's. You just don't know it yet. So sometimes when you touch somebody in the audience, with your music, that can help pull them along too.
Thank you, Shanelle. Anybody else?
Yeah, I agree with Shanelle. I think that there's the art of storytelling, whether you're doing it in a narrative way or you're using metaphor, can connect people who never thought they would have had anything in common. And I think that, especially, in particular for me, I write a lot of love songs because this is something that almost everybody can kind of tap into and see through their own lens. And I think in some ways when they, not only do they feel connected to each other, but if they can feel connected to me and say, hey, that person looks really different from me, or I don't think that we have the same life, then somehow we start to bridge some gaps.
Fantastic, Ganessa. I appreciate it. Carolann or Jibrail, you have anything on the purpose?
Well, I guess, in my head at all times, I have all kinds of different genres of music, and I can't really tie myself down to one thing, and I like to get out and play all of it and, mix it all up and hopefully, kind of help people see that there really shouldn't be all of these boundaries between different kinds of music and different kinds of people, and I think, I can't, claim the credit for that. I think, just as a country, people are starting to realize that there really shouldn't be as much of that, and it's nice to see that. It's not the same as it was when we were kids.
To hinge on what everybody just said, I mean, music is a connector, and we as musicians and writers have been given a gift, I think, and we are given the gift of expressing the inexpressible. And I think we say for people through music and words what sometimes people don't have the words or the music to say for themselves.
Thank you, Carolann. And along that lines, we get inspirations from different things, like Ganessa had mentioned, through TV or other mediums, maybe even just seeing a piece of art on the wall. We draw connections from the news to current stories. And what do you find, when you get a zinger of a song, like, I have to stop, I have to write about this, or you have to scribble something down so you remember it later. Can you remember any of those moments, like a very specific moment when that happened? Oh my God, I was on the bus and this happened. Anybody?
Song I wrote, Believe in Something, is definitely like that. I was literally asleep. Like the whole first verse is what happened, and definitely got a check late, definitely just had a bad week, and just popped up and just had to start writing everything down and composing all the parts and putting everything together, thinking who's going to do this and who's going to do that. And just, I think that's the beauty of to piggyback on what Jibrail said earlier, I think that's the beauty of BR and Time Bomb, is that we always collectively were able to share stories, even though we came from like 6 different genres of music, you know what I mean? So it's like a conversation.
I'm gonna say 1.5 instances. One, I had a song. I heard a song in a dream, and when I woke up, I was like, okay, I wrote it down, and then that became one of the songs that I did. And the other one was actually, I went to go see Liz Wright at City Winery, and she's this incredible vocalist, and she to me stirred up all these emotions, stirred up this huge pot of emotions. And when I went home, I just started writing what came up for me after seeing her show. So it's really powerful.
I have 2. The first one, it wasn't an immediate need to write it, but I remember a song where I co-wrote the lyrics with my brother BR and Carnage from Time Bomb, and it sparked because of a show we did in Massachusetts where the security basically made our lives as difficult as possible for the entire time we were there. And we all drove home angry and bitter, and then we wrote a really good song called Time Bomb versus All of Y'all, and I wish, it had been released. And then the second one is a piece I'm still kind of working on where when I was rehearsing last time with Ganessa, there was this one little lick in one of her songs that was just so awesome. And I kept saying to her, this will make a great like kind of down south hip hop beat. And I started working on it again with Carnage in my house, and it's not finished yet, but I hope to be able to send it to her and get her blessing.
Blessing, yeah. I think for me, I'm just in my 40s finally finding the courage to write things that are political. I get angry a lot when I watch the news, when I hear what's going on. I got angry about Newtown. I got angry about Trayvon Martin. I got angry about a lot of things. And sometimes it turns out to be a good song, and other times it just turns out to be some kind of rant. But I'm going to keep working on that. Whenever something makes me angry, I know I should probably write about it.
Yeah, I want to thank you all for being a part of this podcast and for giving your soul tonight, because I know we're going to have some really great material upstairs. I just want to sign off. I'm Devlin Miles from SLB in the Trailer podcast. This is a copyright production, and we'll see you next week. Actually, next week we're going to have a special guest. It's yet to be determined, but it's Super Bowl week, so there won't be any live music at Putnam's Unplugged. But Carolann Solebello will be back on February 8th. So tune in, and we'll have lots of great stuff coming up for you. Thanks.
Oh, you know what? I remember when I wrote the song. I was in a dry spell of love situation, and I thought, let me write a love song for people who, maybe don't have somebody specific that they are loving on, but still want to, express and
Love on.
So say love. Never thought much about the wilderness until I looked into your eyes. There I was wearing my old shaggy dress. You came as so much the surprise. 'Cause you smiled and I didn't know what time it was. Kept me thinking I wanna stay around only just because. 'Cause I've got to show you what it means when I say love. When I say love. Never thought much about the atmosphere that they all said was rarefied. Baby, yeah, I did my own thing. Nobody seemed to care. And I thought I was so dignified until you smiled. And I didn't know what time it was. Yeah, me thinking I wanna stay around only just because. 'Cause I've got to show you what it means when I say love. When I say love. When I say love. You smiled, I didn't know what time it was. I wanna stay around only just because.
I'm sorry, but Ganessa, you have to be the most romantic person I've ever met in my life. Are my clothes still on? I mean, my God. What? I think everybody's back there going, what? Hold on a second, hold on.
And during the last round, we decided we're going on tour together. Yeah. It's going to be called the Pleasure and Pain Tour. Ganessa will bring the pleasure. I will bring the pain. I dated everyone in New York City. Everyone. And I encountered the usual problems, the usual differences, and you guys will understand this because you live here. I go other places and they don't get this. But, you know, here I am. I'm a girl from Brooklyn, and I, for a while, dated a gentleman who was from a different social class, let's say. He lived on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and he had season tickets to the opera. Anyway, we dated like for 6 weeks, and we went to the opera like 9 times, which was quite amazing, really. I had never been to the opera, and I wanted to reciprocate and show him, you know, my world. So I wanted to take him. I wanted to take him to a folk club downtown. I wanted to take him to like the Bitter End to see one of my favorite folk bands, and he said no.
Who said no?
Well, this was the reason. He said, well, first of all, he said, I don't like rock and roll, and I tried to explain to him that, you know, rock and roll and folk music are very different things, but that went right over his head because he likes opera. But the thing that really burned me up, and the reason why I broke up with him eventually, is because he said, and besides, I never ever go downtown. What? What do you mean? You don't say that. And then you, yeah. Needless to say, I married the dude who lives in Brooklyn. When I met you, I was working with, yeah, what? Wait, you said something funny. Say it again. Way downtown. Yeah, the other guy was a little too refined for that. Only in Brooklyn will we get away with that joke, too. I take that to Connecticut. It doesn't fly. Well, here's how it happened. When I met you, I was working where you were dropping cash. You liked my satin shoes and rented gown. That was just a costume for such a swanky bash. You really ought to see me downtown. Now every single Saturday I see you looking pressed. I put on my pearls before I come around. Maybe on a Friday you can see me at my best, dancing in my denim downtown. Oh honey, let me take you to a rock and roll show. Honey, let me take you downtown. Opera is terrific, I like the diva's crown. But honey, let me take you downtown.
Again, Carolann Solebello. You can look her up online. Please follow everybody. Spread the word, you know, really spread the word. Indie music is about letting people know who people are. So follow them on Twitter, share their words. Jibrail Noor, Shanelle Jenkins, BR, and Time Bomb. Youngblood Jazz Quartet plays down the street at a 5 spot. And then Ganessa James with Onlys. I'm Devlin Miles, a sweet little bloodhound, and we thank you very much for coming.